Hey guys, today we're diving into another truly horrifying case. If you want to support my channel, make sure to subscribe and stay active. It really helps me out. I'd be super grateful for that. Let's get started. On the morning of July 13th, 2023, the heat was already intense. In the Tarn-et-Garonne department of southern France, the air was dry and stifling. On the outskirts of the village of La Cour-Saint-Pierre, near a canal, a local farmer was struck by a strong, foul odor. He followed a narrow footpath past a soccer field to investigate. Deep within the undergrowth, among grass and bushes, he found a body lying on the ground. Nearby was a pink handbag. The farmer immediately contacted the local rescue service. Within an hour, law enforcement officers began securing the scene and surveying the area. Inside the bag, they discovered an ID belonging to a 21-year-old woman named Marine Payou, who had been missing since June. The victim's identity was yet to be officially confirmed. Marine Payou was born and raised in Occitania, southern France. At the time of her disappearance, she was 21. She and her boyfriend were renting an apartment in a commune north of Haute-Garonne, near Toulouse. She had two older brothers, Nicolas and Jonathan, and was particularly close to Nicolas, sharing personal experiences with him. Her parents divorced when she was a child, and in 2020, her mother passed away, a loss that hit the family hard, especially Marin. While she rarely spoke about it openly, she often shared quotes on her Facebook page relating to grief. After her mother's death, Marin stayed nearby with her father, with whom she maintained a close bond, despite his later health problems. Since at least January 2020, Marin had been working at a nursing home. Though details about her job are limited, reports indicate she was diligent, showed up for shifts regularly, and the role demanded emotional resilience and physical stamina. Marin was active on Facebook, regularly posting personal quotes filled with feelings and reflections, sometimes philosophical. In the months leading up to June, her activity slowed, but she still posted and updated photos. On June 11th, 2023, she shared a cover photo celebrating 2 years with her boyfriend. 2 days later, on June 13th, she changed her profile picture with the caption, "A smile can hide a lot: fear, pain, sadness. But it shows one thing: strength." Though her life seemed calm on the surface, behind the scenes she was struggling, a fact evident from her posts and online behavior. Some close to her noticed she seemed tense, but few understood how deeply. On the evening of June 16th, 2023, Marin spent time with two people, a friend and a family acquaintance named Laurent. The gathering took place in Vieux-Moulins-sur-Tarn, about a 20-minute drive from her father's home. At the end of the evening, Marin got behind the wheel of her gray Ford Fiesta and began dropping off her companions. Around 2 a.m., she dropped her friend off in the town of Fronton. Then she headed toward La Bastide Saint-Pierre, where Laurent lived. She drove him home, parked, said goodbye, and, according to her brother Nicolas, sent him a goodnight message shortly after. After that, she entered her father's house. Marin's father later confirmed he heard the front door open during the night. He didn't get up, but remembered the distinct sound of someone coming in. That was the last known moment of contact with Marin. On the morning of Saturday, June 17th, 2023, Marin's father woke up around 9 a.m. Right away, he noticed something strange. The room where she was supposed to sleep was empty. The bed looked untouched, and her belongings were gone. The only thing left behind was a raincoat hanging separately. Both suitcases she had brought with her a few days earlier, after moving out from her boyfriend's place, were missing. Her car was also not parked outside. The situation felt off. He tried calling her, but every call went straight to voicemail. He kept trying throughout the morning without success. Then he started reaching out to Marin's friends and acquaintances, including her boyfriend. Nobody had heard from her since the evening of June 16th. No one had received texts or calls. Realizing he couldn't locate her, Marin's father called Nicolas, who was on vacation at the time. Nicolas listened, then suggested that maybe Marin had just taken off for a bit of time alone. It wasn't totally in character for her, but still within the realm of possibility. He told his father not to panic, hoping she would check in soon. Meanwhile, her father kept trying to reach out to anyone who might know something. The fact that Marin's belongings were missing and she was unreachable made him more and more concerned. By midday, it had been over 12 hours since her last confirmed contact, with still no sign of her. Her father then went to the local station in Grisol and officially reported her missing. The report was filed on June 17th. Later that night, Nicola returned from vacation. He got in around 11 p.m. and went straight to his father's house. Marin was still gone. Her belongings were still missing from the room she had been staying in. All attempts to reach her remained unanswered. At that point, the family knew something was seriously wrong. Marin had never disappeared without letting someone know. Her behavior seemed completely out of character. The fact that she took her luggage without informing anyone was strange. She wasn't known to make sudden moves without explaining. Yes, she was 21 and free to make her own decisions, but this didn't match her usual pattern. The missing car added to the alarm. Marin had clearly left with the intent to go somewhere. But there was no sign of where she was headed or what her plan might have been. The situation remained murky. The packed bags could have suggested she left voluntarily. But the silence, no phone activity, no messages, was deeply unsettling. The family began to wonder, was it a spontaneous choice or something more deliberate? Did she have a destination, or was it an emotional reaction? Without any information about her whereabouts, the questions went unanswered. On June 18th, 2023, a full day after Marine Payou was last seen, the authorities began checking digital data. They focused on her cell phone, online activity, and bank records. It didn't take long to learn that the last signal from her phone was recorded on the morning of June 17th, around 8 a.m., by a cell tower near the town of Montauban. After that, the phone went completely dark. Calls started going straight to voicemail, and there was no sign of it connecting to other towers. At the same time, investigators reviewed her online activity, focusing especially on her Facebook profile, where she used to post frequently. The last trace of any digital presence was around 6 a.m. on June 17th. After that, there were no logins, posts, or any other online actions. A review of her financial records showed that there had been no transactions, no withdrawals, deposits, or purchases since she went missing. Her bank account remained completely inactive. Authorities placed a watch on the account for any signs of movement, but in the following days, there were still no changes. Her SIM card was also inactive. It hadn't connected to any networks since that morning. From a technical standpoint, it appeared as if all her digital activity had suddenly stopped. There were no signs pointing to any movements, locations, or actions past 8 a.m. on June 17th. On the second day, after Marin Payou went missing, Sunday, June 18th, her brother Nicholas received a message from a woman who had seen a social media post about the case and decided to come forward. She claimed to have seen Marin the morning before, Saturday, June 17th, around 10:30 a.m. According to this witness, Marin was in La Cour Saint-Pierre, a small community roughly 15 minutes outside of Montauban. She was sitting alone on the terrace of a local café located in the village square. She ordered coffee and orange juice. The witness said Marin's behavior seemed unusual. She appeared distracted, stood up several times, then sat back down again. Eventually, she left the café and walked toward a nearby canal, crossing the road and approaching the water near the stadium. The woman noted that Marine took a paper bag with her before leaving. She walked along the canal, stopping now and then, looking around, occasionally changing direction. The behavior caught the attention of bystanders. It didn't seem typical. La Cour Saint-Pierre is a small village with around 1,000 residents. A young woman unfamiliar to locals showing up alone on a Saturday morning was hard to miss. That's what helped the witness remember so many details. After receiving the message, Nicholas immediately forwarded the information to the authorities. On the morning of Monday, June 19th, 2023, law enforcement officers arrived in La Cour Saint-Pierre. They began inspecting the area following the report from the witness who claimed to have seen Marin there. During the search, they discovered a gray Ford Fiesta, Marin's car. It was parked on a dead-end road by the Montec Canal near an elementary school. The car was in plain sight, not hidden, and didn't appear to have been left in a hurry. It was locked. Upon gaining access, police found 2 large travel bags in the trunk, both belonging to Marin. There was no phone, no handbag, and no documents visible in the vehicle. Officers immediately secured the car for forensic examination. They planned to conduct fingerprint and biological testing to determine whether anyone else had been in the vehicle and whether there were any outside traces. The car itself didn't show signs of damage or forced entry. The discovery of Marin's car raised new questions. Until that point, her family and investigators had assumed she had left voluntarily, taking her belongings with her. But now it became clear her vehicle and luggage were still there, while she herself had vanished. The absence of her phone and personal documents suggested that she might have left the car unexpectedly or under circumstances beyond her control. The car was found not far from the café where a witness had seen Marin on Saturday morning. The nearby canal matched the path where she was reported walking with a paper bag. This led to the theory that she may have walked along the canal after leaving the café. But from there, her trail completely disappeared. It was also significant that the car had not been moved since arriving at that spot. Several locals confirmed that it had been parked in the same place since Saturday morning. This backed up the idea that Marin had arrived there on June 17th and never returned to the vehicle. The 2 bags left in the trunk made things even more puzzling. If she had intended to leave town, why abandon her luggage? Why not take at least some of her things? And why wasn't her phone inside the car, especially since it had last been tracked to that general area? Something must have happened between the moment she left the cafe and her disappearance. But at that stage, none of the possible explanations had solid backing. The car was an important clue, but it didn't provide immediate answers. Based on its location, the search was focused on the canal and the surrounding area. Amid growing uncertainty, several days after Marin Payou went missing, the family received another message. This time from a man claiming to have seen her on the night of June 17th. He said he saw her at a nightlife venue located in an industrial area of Montauban. According to him, he recognized Marin, approached her, and even greeted her with a kiss on the cheek. This new claim surfaced shortly after Marin's story gained attention in both local and national media. Her relatives immediately forwarded the tip to the authorities. It opened a new possibility. Maybe Marin had been alive that evening and had interacted with someone in a public place. However, discrepancies emerged during the verification process. A key issue was her phone data. Her device had not connected to any network after 8 a.m. on June 17th. The last signal had been picked up in Montauban, and since then, there had been no calls, no logins, no location pings. If she had really been at a nightclub that evening, how had she gotten there? And why hadn't she used her phone? Her means of transportation also raised doubts. Her car was found in La Cour Saint-Pierre and, based on local witness statements, hadn't moved since that morning. If she had made it to the club in Montauban that night, she would have needed to get there some other way. The distance between the 2 locations is about 12.5 miles, a route difficult and unsafe to walk, especially at night, with no phone signal. One theory was that she might have gone with someone else in their vehicle, but no video footage from security cameras showed her arriving at or being inside the venue. Investigators checked surveillance footage from both inside and outside the club, but the recordings didn't confirm her presence. The possibility of mistaken identity was also considered. While the witness was confident he had seen Marin, his account remained uncorroborated. By that time, Marin's photo had been widely shared on social media, and in a noisy, dimly lit setting, someone could easily mistake another person for her. The family was torn between hope and doubt. If the man was correct, it meant Marin was alive on the night of June 17th, which could suggest that her disappearance was not planned. The investigation continued in all directions, with authorities not ruling out any possibilities. The witness statement was noted, but it was not officially confirmed. As the search for Marin Payou went on without resolution, several working theories began to emerge. None were backed by solid evidence yet, but both her family and the authorities continued exploring all leads in parallel. The first and most straightforward theory was that Maren had left on her own. Since she had taken 2 large bags and driven off in her car, it was initially believed she might have needed a break and decided to distance herself temporarily from those around her. Her age, independence, and emotional state made this version plausible at first. But that theory quickly lost weight when her car was found abandoned, with her belongings still inside, and all contact with her ceased. There were no signs she had settled anywhere new, no messages, no financial activity. The second theory involved the possibility of self-harm. Her family didn't dismiss it entirely. Maren's brother, Nicholas, confirmed that in the months leading up to her disappearance, she had often expressed deep emotional distress. She had shared that life felt overwhelming and that she was emotionally drained. Though she tried to cope, she even consulted a mental health professional at least once. Those close to her felt the improvements were fragile. Another appointment was scheduled for June 23rd. Her emotional state could also be read between the lines of her social media posts. She frequently wrote about loneliness, anxiety, and discomfort in her own body. Still, she left behind no note or clear message that would confirm any final intent. The third theory considered the involvement of others. After reports emerged that Maren had been seen at a nightclub the same day she went missing, the family began to consider that she might have ended up in a situation beyond her control. The most troubling scenario was that someone might have taken advantage of her vulnerable condition. In private conversations, the possibility that Maren had been drawn into criminal activity, even trafficking, was mentioned. There was no direct evidence of this, but the family felt they had to consider every option. A key question haunted them. If she left of her own free will, why abandon her luggage in the car? And if she didn't leave alone, who was with her? Who could have picked her up from that spot, and how? The lack of witnesses, surveillance footage, or any digital trail made it impossible to confirm any of the theories. Every possibility remained open. From June 17th to July 13th, 2023, Maren Payu's family lived in a constant state of uncertainty. Each day passed in the desperate hope of finding even the smallest clue about where she might be. Law enforcement continued their investigation, reviewing digital footprints, tracking potential movements, and following up on every lead. At the same time, her family launched their own search efforts. Nicholas, Maren's brother, led a public campaign through social media. He posted appeals for help, shared her photo, and urged others to spread the word. His efforts were joined by followers, locals, and volunteers. Posters with Maren's face appeared across Montauban and neighboring communities. Some helped by putting up flyers, others shared her story in local online groups. Despite the wide outreach, no credible new leads came in. Every day of searching turned up nothing. The silence was deafening. No sightings, no signals, no trace. It was as if Maren had vanished without a trace. Nicholas lived in constant stress. He tried to return to work, but sleepless nights and anxiety made it impossible. Each new day without answers felt heavier. He stayed in regular contact with law enforcement and followed every message or tip that might offer clarity. But there was no breakthrough. Maren's disappearance remained a mystery. On July 13th, 2023, 27 days after Maren Payu disappeared, there was a pivotal development in the case. That morning, a local farmer headed toward the brush near the canal and a nearby sports field. For several days, he had noticed a persistent odor in the area, which he initially thought was due to a dead animal. But on this day, he decided to investigate and stepped deeper into the vegetation. Roughly a quarter mile from where Maren's car had previously been found, he discovered a body. It was lying on the ground, partially hidden by thick undergrowth. Close by was a pink handbag. Inside, authorities later found an ID belonging to Maren Payu. The farmer immediately contacted emergency services. Police and investigators arrived quickly. The area was secured, and a full scene inspection began. The body was in an advanced state of decomposition. Early observations suggested it had been there for several weeks, exposed to summer heat and the elements. Despite the condition, the ID and clothing gave strong initial indications of the person's identity, even before official confirmation. That same day, Nicolas Payou, Marin's brother, was contacted by investigators. They informed him that a body had been found and that it was very likely his sister. He was at home at the time. Though the formal identification process was still ongoing, he understood this was the news he had feared. Later, forensic analysis confirmed the identity through documents and physical characteristics. The body had been located within the active search zone, a place that had already been swept using search dogs, drones, and divers. However, the dense brush and uneven terrain made access difficult. The area also couldn't be seen from the air due to heavy foliage. For the family, this confirmed the worst. Marin's father and brothers, especially Nicholas, were in shock. Nicholas later shared that he had been alone when he received the call and described the moment as life-stopping. He couldn't resume his normal routine. Everything came to a halt. After weeks of searching, spreading awareness, and clinging to hope, the confirmation of Marin's death marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, figuring out what happened and why. The circumstances surrounding her passing would be examined through official investigation and forensic review. Following the discovery, investigators focused on reconstructing Marin's final known movements on June 17th. The earlier report from a woman who said she saw Marin sitting alone on a café terrace in La Cour Saint-Pierre that morning became a critical lead. Based on the reconstruction, after leaving the café, Marin likely returned to her car but didn't take anything from it. Instead, she walked in the opposite direction along the water. Witnesses in the area said they saw her cross a bridge before disappearing behind a line of trees. This route aligned with the location where her body was eventually found. During the scene investigation, a paper bag, matching the one she had with her at the cafe, was found near the body. Inside the bag and in the immediate vicinity, authorities discovered traces of medication. A nearby empty blister pack was also recovered. The exact name of the medication wasn't disclosed publicly, but according to information shared with her family, it may have been a strong sedative. Investigators believe Marin remained in that spot from the day she went missing. The state of the body and surrounding items suggested that she passed away shortly after she was last seen at the cafe. Following the discovery, a forensic medical exam was ordered. The autopsy included routine identification procedures as well as an attempt to determine the cause of death. According to the medical examiner, the body was too decomposed to establish a definitive cause. Alongside the initial investigation, a toxicology report was ordered. The goal was to determine whether any medications or other substances were present in Marin's system. This step followed the discovery of pills and an empty blister pack near her body. Given the absence of any visible signs of aggression or forced harm, authorities leaned toward the theory that Marin may have made a personal decision to end her journey. The Montauban prosecutor's office officially confirmed that no signs pointed to outside involvement. There were no indications of a struggle, physical trauma, or movement restraints. As a result, there was no legal basis to pursue a criminal case under statutes related to a violent crime. Marin's family had observed that, in recent years, she had become more withdrawn. After losing her mother in 2020, she rarely expressed her emotions, even though she maintained contact with others and remained active online. The formal investigation concluded with a finding of voluntary departure. The family was left to accept this outcome, despite the heavy emotional toll. The answer they had been waiting on for nearly a month came, wordless, but final. After the case surrounding Marine Payou's disappearance and passing was officially closed, her family made the choice to speak publicly. Her brother Nicolas released a statement through social media. He confirmed his sister had been found and thanked everyone who helped during the search. Those who shared her photo, spread the word, and offered support during weeks of uncertainty. He highlighted how critical the internet had been. The woman who spotted Marine on the morning of June 17th recognized her because of Facebook posts. That tip led to the location where Marine had last been seen and ultimately helped investigators find her car. Without that, it's likely her remains would have gone undiscovered far longer. Nicholas felt it was important for Marin's story to be told completely. He approved the creation of videos and written pieces, not only to honor her memory, but to bring attention to the subject of mental health. He shared his hope that it might help others, those experiencing loneliness or emotional pain, feel less alone. He also wrote a message to his sister. It was gentle, without blame or judgment, only regret, and the painful realization that not everything may have been seen in time. He mentioned their mother, who had passed 3 years before Marin's disappearance, and wrote that now they were together again. He hoped that Marin had finally found the peace that seemed so hard to reach during her life. Nicholas ended his message with a call to others. If you're struggling, don't go through it alone. He mentioned the National Mental Health Hotline and reminded people that even a brief conversation can make a real difference. Marin's story didn't leave behind clear answers. There was no note, no definitive explanation. But there were signs, phrases, silences, and moments that all pointed to a single conclusion. This was the closing chapter in the disappearance of Marin Payou, a young woman whose silence became her final message. Thanks for watching, everyone. Your support means a lot to me, and you can help my channel grow by hitting that like button, dropping a comment, and sharing this video. Your engagement really makes a difference. See you soon.